Hi there, this is a fun position. Uh, the score is 3-3 and a match to 7. Both players are 4 away. And blue is on roll and thinking about doubling. Should blue double? If you were blue, would you double? And if you were red, would you take or pass? You can pause this video and take as much time as you need to come up with your answer and then continue. So I won't give you too much time. Okay, let's do a little discussion before I show you what's right. I've cheated, and I've looked ahead, and I, of course, know the answer, but I also know that red will win this game about 46% of the time, and he gets gammoned about 33% of the time. He wins gammons, about 3%, so his net gammon losses are about 30%. Now, at 4 away with the cube on 2, if you get gammoned, you lose the match. And the gammon value, therefore, is 1.0. It's twice as painful to get gammoned at this score as it would be at what we call a normal match score or unlimited game. Let's just check that. Analyze, cube information, put the cube on 2, the gammon value. Oh, it's 982, not quite 1.0. There's some reasons for that. The possibility of getting to Crawford and all kinds of other little things, but it's pretty essentially I use 1.0 here, and I'm happy to be off by this amount. So if you're getting gammon 33% of the time, and you win gammons 3%, your net gammon losses are 30. And you knew you were gonna win the game 46% of the time. Would you take the cube now, or would you pass? And would you double if you were blue? Well, if you do gammon adjusted take points, or your live cube take point averages around 22% at this score. Let's look at what our friend says about take points. The take point goes down as low as 19% and up to 28%. And usually you find an average somewhere in between. And let's say you used 22%. That's what I use in a race at the score before I figure any gammons. And you have 30% net gammons. That's 52% of the time that you need to win in order to take the cube. And I've already told you you only win this game 46% of the time. So the numbers, if you do it that way, would be a drop. But here's a very good hint that I learned from John O'Hagan. If you were to take this cube and for some stupid reason immediately redouble, you would be at double match point. And you would have 46% chance to win the game, win the match. And gammons don't matter, because if the cube goes to 4, gammons don't matter. So you could take this cube and have a 46% chance to win the match by redoubling immediately, or you could pass and just lose 1 point and be losing 3 away, 4 away. Well, what are your chances of winning the match if the score is 3 away, 4 away? If you know your match equity tables, it's about 43%. That's the odds of winning the match if your opponent has won a point here. Let's take a look at that too, showing you how you can check each of these numbers in extreme gammon. You can go to the match equity table, and you can see that if you are 3 away and your opponent is 4 away, your match winning chances are 42.85%. So this takes into account this brings up a very important principle that John O'Hagan taught me, and that is, why would you drop a cube where you can win 46%? And if you drop, you'd only have 43%. So O'Hagan's principle, I call it O'Hagan's crazy principle, is that regardless of gammons, you can take any cube where your winning odds are higher if you can get to DMP, double match point, than they would be if you dropped. It's that simple. Red has a take here because he can redouble immediately and have better odds than dropping, and gammons won't matter. Now, should blue double? If red has a take and he's not about to drop, he's not going to drop on the next roll either. He has no market losers. There's nothing that blue can roll that would make red drop next roll, probably. I don't know, maybe double six, but I doubt it. Then there's no reason for blue to double, because he can always get red maybe to take later, or he can get red closer to the take point, or things could go really good for blue and he could just win in 2 points without turning the cube. Win a gammon by playing on. Or if things start getting a little dicey, he could double later, maybe. It's possible very easily that blue could get in trouble here. Of course he can get in trouble. He's going to lose 46% of the time. It's very easy to get in trouble. That's another reason not to give the cube. This is not a double. And it's a huge take. And it isn't because I lied about the numbers. It's because of O'Hagan's rule. It's because of cube vig. It's because red could recube whenever he wants. And by the way, red wouldn't do that. That would be foolish. What if blue doubled red and red took this cube? And now blue rolled some normal number. Why in the world would red redouble here? It would be foolish for him to redouble and put the entire match on the line, because he doesn't have any market losers. He can always use the cube more efficiently later. There's no way he's going to get a pass here, and there's no way he's going to get a pass on the next roll from blue. The only reason you ever double when your opponent might take is if you might lose your market. And even then, it's how much you might lose your market by, depending on the score and the situation. So you have to have some reason to give the cube that you might well lose your market on the next roll. Let's see how bad a recube this would be. So the fact that red could recube, wipe out the gammons and play for the match, doesn't mean he should. He should wait for a more efficient time. And by the way, that efficient time, he'd be making an 11% error to redouble. That efficient time may never come up. He may end up just waiting and getting to a bad position and maybe just saving the gammon. Maybe he doesn't get a shot until towards the end, or he hits the shot and blue gets out and comes around, and then he's happy he didn't redouble, so you lose 2 points. Still in the game, still in the match. Then it goes to two-way, four-way. He's got 33% at two-way, four-way. He'd rather have 33% than nothing by redoubling. But I've played this game out many times, this particular game out. Let me show you how it could evolve. Let's say that red ended up with his 1-3 back game and he took the cube and he gets a double shot. Now, red's got a beautiful recube. He could easily lose his market if he hits and blue dances, or if he hits and blue comes in with a 1-4 and leaves another shot, or a 2-4, or a 3-4, or all kinds of other sequences. So because he could lose his market, okay, now this is why he saved his redouble. And you'll see that he has a very beautiful redouble here. According to Extreme Gammon, it'd be a 16% error not to redouble. So why should he redouble? If things go wrong, he's getting gammoned a lot, but there are no gammons if he redoubles. He's just going to win the match 61% of the time because you're playing for the match. And blue's got to take, even though he's only going to win 38%. Why is blue only going to win 38%? Well, first of all, he's got 20 numbers right here that hit. That doesn't win the game. But if he misses with a 1-3 back game, and this time he's very likely to get more shots later. But why? This is another reason why he didn't redouble immediately, because blue might drop this cube. It would be a terrible error to drop this cube, but it could happen. Or it could have been that the game was closer at this point. Maybe if red were here and red were here when we got to this point, Now there's much more chance that blue's going to get scared and drop this cube. And he's got a very, very efficient recube. It's still a big take. Blue's take point on the recube at 4-away is 33%, because I already told you at 2-away, 4-away it's 33%, so he should take because he can win more. His odds of winning the match are better by taking and having 36% than they are if he drops and has 33%. So blue should take, but lots of people might drop this cube. That's another reason to wait. Give blue a very tough decision. So at any score where you can redouble and get to double match point, you got another way of looking at whether or not you have a take or drop. If you can win more than what your equity would be if you passed by taking and recubing, then you always have a take regardless of the gammons. And the other side may not have a double. So this happens at 3-away, 4-away, 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 2-away. And the same kind of principle can apply at other scores. If your opponent is doubling you and he is 4-away or less, even if you're 6-away or 8-away, when you recube, you are not playing for the match. However, you can wipe out your gammons. If the cube is on 4 and your opponent needs 4 points to win the match, or he needs 3 points to win the match, or 2 points to win the match, and you take the cube and recube, now your gammons are worth 0. So you can take or drop on the basis, largely or quite a bit, on the basis of how much you win. Now, I've done some experimenting here. Let's go back to the original position. I'm going to hit Control V because that was the position that I saved. You could actually win even a little bit less than 43% because of cube vig. Cube vig, the power of holding the cube. If you have 40% or 41% winning chances, and you can wipe out gammons by the recube, the fact that you can recube at an efficient time, or at a time when you might get a pass, or at a time when your opponent might be forced to take, or you might even recube at a time when he has a pass, because his recube take point, for example, this is 33%. Let's say you recube when he has 30% winning chances, and he drops. You've just gained 30% wins that you wouldn't have had if you didn't have the ability to use the cube. So the fact that you have that ability and your opponent doesn't gives you some power. So you can actually take the cube a little bit less. It gets tricky, and it depends on the gammons. But if nothing else, I hope you learn there's a little bit more to this game at these kinds of scores. And the game does get complicated. And you can't just... oh yeah, I'm sorry. One very common question that people ask is, I'm not going to be able to estimate gammons here. How many people know this is 33% gammons and 46% wins? Very few people could make those estimates very closely, but you know there's a heck of a lot of gammons, and whatever they are going to disappear if you recube. So you make your best guess. Do I think I can win this game 43% of the time? And by the way, if you don't know that your match equity, that your equity at 4-away, 3-away is 43%, you don't even have the right tools to come to the table. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick. People say, oh, gosh, I really have trouble memorizing these match equities. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at 4-away, 3-away. If you're the trailer, you have about 43%. How about 4-away, 5-away? About 43%. How about 5-away, 6-away? About 43%. Any time, just about, that you're losing by 1 point, you have something close to 43%. At the higher scores, it gets up to around 44%. And of course, when you get down to the very low scores, it changes. At 4-away, 2-away, it's 40% if you're the trailer. And at 1-away, 2-away Crawford, it's around 32%. But for the most part, at most scores, if you're losing by a point, you're going to have around 43% equity. You don't have to do a whole lot of math. You don't have to do a whole lot of memorization just to remember that number. By the way, if you're losing by 2 points, I found there's another common thread. 3 away, 5 away, 35%. 4 away, 6 away, 35%. Then it goes up a little bit. 37, 38, 39. So at these critical scores, when you're getting close to the end, I'm using around 35% if I'm losing by 2 as my match equity, and around 43% if I'm losing by 1. So there's patterns in here. You can find patterns. That's what Neil did when he used Neil's numbers. He came up with a mathematical way to get to your match equity if you don't remember them. Of course, he doesn't have to use Neil's numbers. Neil knows every number by heart. But the rest of us need little tricks, and you can find tricks by working at it. Pardon me. I hope this was interesting for you. I hope it was educational for you. When I first realized this and saw this, I realized that I had a lot more work to do at these scores. Whenever I saw a cube and I was alerted to this, and by the way, don't wait until you get into this position to be thinking about these things. I think about these positions before the game starts. As soon as the score is 4 away, an antenna goes up and says, okay, cube gets complicated here. Take points around 22% if it's not a gammonish position, but then it gets very, very haywire and you have to adjust. And I think about this whole, everything that I've told you in this video pops into my head if the score is 4 away, and I'm thinking about all this before the opening roll. And in practice, when I'm not sure of the numbers, then I immediately check them before I start playing, if I'm practicing or looking at matches and so on. And in no time at all, you'll have these numbers known and memorized, and you'll know how to handle this cube action over the board. Thank you for watching, and thanks for your support of the USBGF. This is Phil Simborg, and I encourage you to email me at pjsimborg@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, put your comments on Facebook too. Happy to see them and answer them. Bye-bye.